have a human friend here.
Wormy.
Hello, everyone in my online human family. I'm so excited today here on Inner Wisdom TV and the Wisdom Keeper series. I am interviewing Tracy Neely, and I'm super excited to have her share her wisdom and her heart and her just amazing insight with us today.
Hello.
Yes. So Tracy is an intuitive healer and life coach. And tell us a little bit about, to get us started, I always like to kind of ground into where you are physically. So give us some glimpse of, like, either on a walk, something you've seen, or the weather or the climate. Give us something so we can feel like I know what your physical environment is where you live and
Absolutely.
play.
So thank you first off, Rachel, for just having this time with you and your community of sharing my story and my life. And I'm really excited to be here. And right now I am sitting in my gorgeous, beautiful office that backs up to trees. I live here in the South of Georgia, and it's such a gift to be able to just look out, whether it's sunny or it's raining or it's cloudy, and just see Mother Nature in all her beauty. And I so don't take it for granted and appreciate it. So today it's cloudy and it's misty, but it's just so beautiful to be able to look out and see trees. Like, I don't know, it just fills me up.
Yes, we're both tree lovers. I can tell from your tree beside you. Thank you so much. Do you feel like your connection to nature has a relationship to this intuitive healer part of your work that you do?
Oh, so much so that there are times when I'm out in nature and walking and I can smell the dirt, and it takes me back to when I used to play in the dirt when I was little. And it was like, there was this freshness about it, like this energy of, like, it's like a remembrance. And so nature is definitely like my love. Like, it's everything to me. And I think everybody that knows me knows that the minute I'm out in nature, like, I get this big smile on my face without even trying, because it just feels like I'm home.
Oh, that's how I feel too. So even as a kid, you played outside a lot. Are there any, like, experiences from your childhood that really stand out of you, other than you playing in the dirt, that
Oh,
kind of
yes.
are memorable or that spark your interest to speak about today?
Oh, wow. You know, it's interesting because I grew up in Connecticut when I was really young, and then I moved to Tennessee when I was 10. But when I lived in Connecticut, you know, those were the times when you could literally play outside like all day, and your parents were okay with it. So I felt like I was probably outside more than I was inside. It was almost like inside is just where I went to sleep, where you ate, where you did all the things. But I remember in particular during the winter months, me and my dad would go sledding in this park called Keeney Park, and the snow would be like up to my waist, and it was just so much fun. And I mean, the amount of joy that I felt from just being out in the snow is something that I carry with me. And we recently had some snow, like maybe 10 days ago. We probably had like 2 inches, but I have to tell you, seeing that brought me back to all the fun times with my dad, playing in the snow, on the sled, on a snowmobile, walking in it, being out for hours, coming in house, being soaked to the bones, where my mother would have to put all my clothes on the radiator. Like, I'm dating myself.
Yeah. Well,
But
you
it
know.
was, you know, but that brought back such beautiful memories of how much fun it is to be out in nature and play. And so I share that experience with my 13-year-old son now, because we all went outside last week when it snowed, and it was just like, it's almost like you can't put it in words how magical it was for probably just those couple hours. And those are the moments when I'm just like, nature is just something all inspiring that can just take your breath away, you know? Yeah.
Yes. And I love how this happens in my family too, of like these experiences, either now with your 13-year-old or when you were a kid, it also brings you together with your family in this way that you're going along with your normal life, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, we're gonna go play outside. And I love that, because I definitely feel like I try and bring more play into my life when I can,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there can be a lot of seriousness in the world, and so it is really wonderful to bring that play in.
So much seriousness. And you know, it was interesting because I did a video as we were outside, because I'm like, I need to capture this moment, like just how much fun it was to see my son and our dog, and to see my husband, like, you know, it was like, and then our whole neighborhood, like people in our community came out. And my friends who live on the East Coast are like, oh my gosh, they're like tripping over 2 inches of snow. But you know what I mean? But it just felt like we were all experiencing some joy and some happiness, no matter what else was going on in our life. For those hours, it was just a sense of community, fun, and play.
Wow. Ooh, that just makes me so happy. And it's funny because I think we could talk about it just as at the level of like that was fun, but I also feel like fun, and maybe you can agree or disagree, but do you feel like fun and joy is also like a healing emotion or experience
Oh,
that people can have? Or tell me a little bit about, I don't know, your thoughts on that.
absolutely. You know what's really interesting? You touched on it because of just the amount of things people are going through in their lives and the times that we live in right now. And sometimes we're doing all the things and taking care of life and its challenges, and just going about our day to day. And sometimes we're so busy putting out fires or doing all the things that we forget to have some fun and have some play, and how that energy, right? That emotion, because emotion is just energy in motion, that energy of fun can start to calm our nervous system down, because it's so heightened because of the things that we're going through every day. So even if it's for that moment, taking some time to have some fun, to laugh, can do so much to heal us. Oh my gosh, it's almost like you give yourself the permission to feel something different than what you're dealing with right now.
I love that. And yes, the permission to feel something different. And I think there's a lot of us who think I could use that permission. And how you brought it, the point of calming the nervous system down, because I know for me, I'm a little bit of a sensitive person, and so too much noise and stress and bad news and things like that, after a while I'm just like, oh, what's going on? And I definitely feel like my nervous system gets in this fight or flight kind of reactionary mode. And as you're
Right.
saying, it can really like calm us down, that the energy can move in motion.
Yes. And, you know, and the thing about nature, what I also love is that when we are dealing with life, because in this 3D world, we are going to experience all different things. When you're in nature, Mother Earth, the ground, is such an amazing way for us to release what is feeling heavy. Even if it's temporarily, we get, it's almost like we get to take a break, and we get to just allow Mother Earth to release the heaviness that we're feeling. And so, and I spend so much time out in nature, and I have to tell you, when I am going through something in my life, no matter what else is going on, I take the time to go out in nature, because I'm like, I got to start to release this. Otherwise, there's going to be a major implosion going on in my nervous system. And then what that does is it affects us in such a way that we're not able to see the next step to take on our journey. So nature for me is where I release, where I replenish. It's where I get to be present. It's where I get to experience gratitude and appreciation. And then I can come back to my life, and then I might see things differently. I might feel things differently. I might think more clearly about something because I've given myself that time to just release. And being out in nature doesn't have to be a major thing where like I go to a park, but literally I say to my clients, go out in your yard. Allow yourself to just be on the land. If it's cold, you may not want to take your shoes off, even though, you know, I do it anyway, but I understand like in some parts of the world, in some parts of the US right now, it is super cold. So coming out of your shoes and socks is not probably the best thing for you.
Yeah.
But just allowing yourself to just breathe in some fresh air can do so much about quieting the mind, because the mind is super powerful and it's definitely beneficial. But sometimes we're so in our head that we're not in our heart. And I believe being out in nature allows us that space to be in our heart.
I love that. I feel like your words are just flowing over me, words of wisdom. I tell my clients a similar thing too. It's like, I don't want to say it's not hard, because some people might, if it's not in your habit, it might seem like, oh, now I got to find time to go outside. But yet when you do, even if it's just for a few minutes, and like you said, even if it's just in your backyard or your front yard, you really start to reconnect to the groundedness of it, and get out of your head and your own mind that's been maybe moving too fast and trying to deal with however many thoughts we have in a day, 50,000 or 60,000. And just, I love to this idea, the words were coming to me of like laying your burdens down, in a way of just letting it not all be our responsibility, like the heaviness inside of us, and just kind of letting it rest.
Yes, for sure. And, you know, and I'm also very sensitive to the fact that there are people that live in spaces and places where they don't have front yards or backyards. They don't have a park to go to. They don't have the luxury of being able to just go out in nature. So sometimes it's like, bring nature inside with you. Maybe it's a plant. And these days you can get plants for 50 cents, for $1 or even less. Like, it doesn't have to be something grandiose, but it's like, bring nature inside if you're not able to go out into nature. And that can look like, you know, plants or crystals, or it can look like a beautiful painting of nature. Like, there's so many ways that we can bring nature inside when we're not out, when we're not able to go out in nature.
I love, we're on the same wavelength here, because I agree. Even it is in a way almost like a form of not luxury, but there are people who have more access to it than other people. Like, there's no denying that. And yet we can find ways to make it accessible for us and in our present environment. And so I love that you were being thoughtful to that point. And I think that's also one of the things I appreciate about you, is you're really sensitive to the range of experiences that people are going through. And I'm sure that's something that comes out in your work. Some of the people watching this might not really know a lot about what energy work is. And I wonder, could you tell us a little bit about what you experiences it as, and how you work with people in this way?
Sure. You know, I think this is something I could probably talk about like all day long. And sometimes my husband's like, all right, already. Like, because he's an engineer. And so he really appreciates what I'm talking about. But sometimes he's like, I'm just going to go watch golf. You know, like I just need a little something different. But listen, everything is energy, and energy is everything. And I say that because you and I are energy. What we're sitting on, the room that we're in, everything that we hold is energy. And energy is like this subtle, it's like this subtlety that many people say, I don't really feel it. But sometimes because we're moving so fast, we're in such a fast-paced society that we don't have the space or the time to sit and just feel. And so because energy is subtle, it's like we want to start connecting to it. You know, I believe that everything we feel in the physical body actually started to manifest in the emotional body, right? Because disease, from a medical standpoint, is dis-ease from an emotional standpoint. So if I'm feeling something emotional and it's feeling very heavy and it's something that I'm dealing with every day, of fear, stress, worry, anguish, whatever that is, it is not only permeating my emotional body, it's going to start to take a toll on my physical body, right? So the energy is moving through us. But let's say that I'm worried about something. It becomes this massive implosion of energy that creates a block in my nervous system, throughout my body, in my cells. Well, that dis-ease then becomes inflammatory, and then I start to feel something physically. So the way that I work with my clients, and the way that I feel like is one of my gifts, is to be able to sense that subtle energy inside of them and then figure out, where is this stemming from? What's the root cause? Because my headache is just the symptom.
Right.
But I need to figure out, what's the root cause of my headache? And many times it's because it's something that I'm worried about. There's some fear that's coming up. There's a stress that I'm dealing with. And we know that there's so many people that are going through so many things in their day-to-day lives. And so the work I do is helping them to clear and release that, but feel empowered to become their own inner healer, where they can start to heal themselves from the inside out, so that their life, they get to experience something different. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes. And I love how it's empowering. And when you were speaking, it was making me think, you were talking about the subtlety of it. And so you're really attuned to that. And you've spent years working with people and coaching with them, first in a way that wasn't just pure energy work, even though maybe it was in a way. And then now in this form that it is. And so then when you work with them over time, like let's say we were working together and you're saying, oh, well, Rachel, this thing that you're dealing with, here's an issue related to it. And then suddenly I start to make the connections myself and see, oh, that feeling is this, and this is how I feel when I release it. And so you're empowering your clients to then have their own awareness of it and their own experience so they can manage it themselves, which
Absolutely.
I think is really incredible.
Well, if you think about it, anything that we're wanting to shift in our life, any ways that we're wanting to feel something different, the first part is awareness. So you sharing that, like, that is it. Sometimes we're so close to our own stuff, though, that we're not aware, right? We might have a story or a belief or a habit that's been showing up in our lives every day. So it's just kind of settled into our unconscious mind. And so kind of experience that day to day. But when you're working with someone and the person is looking from the inside out, right? And they're saying, well, wait a second. Did you realize what you just said? Did you realize that belief? Then we can become aware and be like, oh, I start to think differently. I start to notice patterns, right? I start to remember, this has been my story. So really, that is the work we're doing, where I get to sit with you, support you, serve you in such a way that you start to remember who you were before the situation.
That's amazing. Yeah. And then anything is possible. I'm kind of joking, but I feel like it's kind of true.
Anything is possible. And here's the thing. When we have a desire for something different in our lives, and we say yes to wanting to experience and feel something different, then we get to show up for ourselves, come outside of our comfort zone, and do something different. Because as long as we stay comfortable, we don't grow. And if we're not growing, are we really living?
Right.
Right?
Yes.
And support is such a big thing. Like, I love how you support people. You support your online community in so many different ways, whether it be, you know, your video, your podcast. And really that's really about how we support and serve one another is being
Mm.
there for others and
Mm-hmm.
supporting others. And many times we're going to be stepping outside of our comfort zone to
Mm.
share our experiences and to share our gifts and how we desire to be of service so that people can really start to live their best life.
Mm. Yes. There's so much that you said that I'm just getting really excited about because I mean, living the best life sounds pretty good, and receiving support
Yes.
and us giving other support and stepping out of the comfort zone. And I agree, growing is so essential. And one of the things that you were saying, I was thinking of, there might be a lot of times in our lives when we say yes to things, but it's not a yes like you're talking about where you're like, oh, this is a yes that like feels expansive. And even if I'm nervous about getting outside of this comfort zone, it's a yes that makes me grow and makes me excited. Not, oh, people are asking me to do this and I have to say yes because that's like
Oh,
my
yes.
job or my home
Right.
responsibilities. But the kind
Yeah.
of yes that energizes us and excites us, I think, is really exciting to respond to and follow.
And one of the things I really want to share, because
Mm,
um, there are a few things that are very important to me, and
mm,
it's something I share with my son, and it's to be kind, to be compassionate, and to be authentic. And
mm,
so the thing that I want to share with your community and with you is that when I say yes to things, even though there's an excitement, there are many times there's a story in my head that's saying maybe not right now, or
mm,
or the monkey mind that says, oh gosh, like maybe I'm not ready to share. I mean, there was a time when I could not do what you and I are doing
mm.
because I would be so nervous. So one
Yes.
thing I always say is, I'm going to say yes, even in the midst of when my mind wants to say no, because I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I want to share, is that you might see me here on video and I'm saying yes to this, but please don't think that things don't go through my mind or that I don't have fears. I just do it anyway because I know
Mm-hmm.
that my mission, my desire is so much bigger than the fear that comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm feeling a little emotional because what you're saying reminds me of when I was younger, kind of my first public speaking experience.
Yes.
I was presenting at this conference called Closing the Education Gap in North Carolina, and there were not a lot of people in the session. I don't know, maybe 6 people or 8 or 10. There was definitely less than 15. I know I've just given a lot of numbers, but that part of the memory is fuzzy. And me and 2 other people who were tutors were presenting, and the woman who supervised us was there too. So one of the people had presented it, then it was my turn to stand in front of the group. And as I said, there were the 3 people I knew, but then everyone else was a stranger, all 8 people. And I got deer in the headlights, and I was looking at my chair where I had been sitting, and I started to walk off the stage to my chair because I was just like, I can't do this. And Kim, my boss or manager, she saw what I was doing because she worked with kids a lot. And even though I was a college kid, I still was a kid. And she was like, Rachel. And then she stopped me and asked me a question. And so instead of following the fear and like running to my seat, because I was in full on
Yes.
like, I got to get off of this stage. She
Right.
asked me the question. I don't remember the question. I answered it. And a lot of my fear in that moment was, I didn't feel like I had something of value to say. And this is, I guess, what's making me emotional too. So, because I felt like my peers, the experiences they had working with tutors was better than mine in my experience, in my mind, how I was judging it. And so she asked me this question and I shared. And then the crazy thing to me was at the end of it, all the audience members kept on asking me to talk more. And they were like, Rachel, this was amazing. What you said. And I was like, what I said. And because what I eventually ended up sharing was the students I felt like had taught me more than I had taught them. And everyone was like, whoa, big moment, big moment. And I was just kind of like feeling embarrassed that I didn't have some profound thing in my mind to share. But they all felt like that was profound.
Yes, for
And
sure.
and but so now in moments when I am afraid, and a lot of times, even though like we're speaking or I'll go speak in front of a group, I still get that initial like, maybe I should run off stage. I didn't today, but if I'm in front of a group of people, sometimes I'll feel that. And I remember that moment and think, it's important for me to stay here. Like I can be scared and still do this.
Absolutely. And because I think sometimes there's this myth when people looking on the outside and they're like, oh, this person is doing this. I'm sure they're, you know, they're so confident, they're not afraid. And, you know, it took me a really, really long time to be comfortable in front of the camera or on video. And I still get nervous butterflies, but I just do it anyway because I'm like, thank you for that information. I tell my mind that I'm like, thank you for that information, but I got this because my mission is bigger than the fear. And I just have to continue to tell myself that. And I just wanted to share that because I know sometimes people think, it's all got to be a certain way before they can show up. It's got to be perfect. Like it has to be all together. And it's just not so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we are all experts of our experiences. And as long as we remember that and just show up anyway, even in spite of the nerves, then, you know, I feel like that's how we really get to transform. And then the people get to transform as well.
That sounds amazing. Yes. Yeah, we're all experts of our own experiences. And then as we let ourselves have, I feel like it's also a self compassion because as you're saying, like you talk to the fear and you're like, thank you, but that's okay. You don't have to be in charge right now.
I'm like, I've got this. It's okay.
Yes, exactly. Because I know for me, if there are parts of me that I push away or try and reject or not think about, that doesn't really work very well. It's like it keeps on coming up and up and up. Whereas if I see it and accept it, like you're saying, and acknowledge, then I can move on much more easily.
And you just don't know who at any given moment, Rachel, is seeing something that you're sharing, is seeing a video of you, and there's something that you shared that is just such a gift to them that can help them through whatever they're going through. You just don't know. And so if you don't share, then I think you being a little nervous and still showing up is just a part of your humanity and being able to support your community.
Yes, that's a good point. Are there other things that you wanted to say about the work that you do with energy and maybe, I don't know if there are any stories about like aha moments you've had or someone else has had. I'm just curious about that.
Absolutely. So I work with my clients around, I work with a lot of clients around their business because I feel like so much of what we do in our business and what we experience is a reflection of our personal lives. And so sometimes we like to keep things separate, like my personal life is over here and my business is over here, but we are the soul of our business. We are a reflection of our business. And I was recently working with a client, and as much as she knew that she wanted to share more of herself, there was this story that she kept telling herself that she wasn't sure if what she was sharing had enough value. And so I said to her, let's just do this exercise where I want you to really connect with your breath. I said, we're so used to breathing, but many, many times we have this shallow breath because there's so many things that we're dealing with that we're not even deeply breathing. And so she and I went through this work of her breathing for 5 minutes so that her nervous system can calm down enough. And then I said to her, I want you to rub your hands together for a few seconds. And then I want you to place them apart. And I want you to just close your eyes, because when we close our eyes, it's almost like it shuts down the brain from having to question. I said, close your eyes, focus on your breath. And I want you to just feel what you feel between your hands. And she did. And she says, it feels a little prickly. I said, that is energy. And she's like, so what do I do now? I said, well, the first thing to do is to become aware of that energy. The second thing you're going to do is continue in connecting with your breath, so that you actually start to connect with your heart, so that when those moments that come up where you question yourself, you say to yourself, I'm going to come from my heart and I'm just going to speak and I'm going to share, because I know being of service can benefit not only my life, but the lives of the people that I want to connect with. So that's how I had her become aware of energy. And then what we did was I had her discover how to connect with her grounding cord, how to connect her physical body to the energy of the earth, so that she had a way of releasing the heaviness of the day. When she started to do that every single day, she started to feel almost like this sense of confidence in herself. It was like building this muscle that she knew how to, one, connect with energy, two, to ground her energy and release that, and three, to really be in her heart. And when she came from that place, then when the doubt and the fear came up, she just acknowledged it, but kept moving forward in her journey, because she knew that her mission of being of service was bigger than the, will people value what I have? Will people like what I have? Am I sharing things that are important? Yes, you are important just because you are. There's nothing that you have to do. But when you step into your gifts and you share from your heart, that's all you can do.
I feel like you're one of the most compassionate, loving people I have ever met. Like,
thank you.
You're welcome. That was amazing. And it makes me think too, sometimes people hear about things like meditation and they think, I don't know if I want to meditate, or I don't know if I have time to that. But when I hear you talking about this, I think that I see as like a form of meditation, and that it connects people to themselves. And also, like we were talking about nature before, if nothing else, we always have our breath, which is our connection to life. And so by connecting back to that and connecting back to your life and feeling the energy, then I love how you said it transformed her, and she started feeling more confidence and more enthusiasm to show up in service, and that was driving her forward, and more, I feel like, energy, maybe fun, probably fun.
Right. And I understand for many people, like energy or chakras or even meditation, is not part of their awareness. So they're kind of like, I don't know about that.
Right.
And so what I say is, it doesn't have to be about meditation. It can just be about you allowing yourself a few minutes to be still and connect with your breath, so that you can become more present to whatever it is that you desire to experience, or whatever it is that you desire to become aware of. So we don't even have to have the terminology of meditation.
Right, exactly.
It's just a matter of, can you give yourself the time to just sit and be still and focus on your breath? Because studies have shown how breathing deeply can start to unpack and heal so much of what we're going through in our lives, and we can just become more present, right? People talk about, well, just don't think of anything and meditate. Well, I'm like, okay, that's Like, how do you even do that? Right? It's
Yeah,
not about that. It's like, can I become aware of my breath? So can I listen with my ear? Can I listen? Can I feel the rhythm of inhaling? And maybe you just do that for a few minutes, and that is your time to just sit with yourself. And it doesn't have to do anything with meditation, because I know for some people it's like it's about prayer, it's not about
Right.
meditation. And
Yes.
so you can give it whatever words feel good to you, but giving yourself that time to just be still. When we live in a society where everything is going at 100 miles an hour, is a gift.
Yes. Oh, I love that gift. And I think too, I love how what you're saying, because it is accessible for anyone, and we don't have to worry about, this is what I thought it was, and I don't want to do, like, we just access it from where we are, and give ourselves that. And one thing I feel like that I hear you saying a lot too is that when we're more present to ourselves, we can be of service to others, which I know is a really big, I don't know if you'd use the word calling, but it seems like that's like a mission in your life, is
Oh
to
yeah,
help.
it's truly, it is so my calling. I can remember when I was little, my like aunts would say, "You were such an old soul." Like, I have just always had this my nature has always wanted to be able to be of service and support in whatever capacity. Even if it's sometimes being in a restaurant. This is where I feel it the most, and I'm not exactly sure, and I think maybe because my mother was a single mother, but being in a restaurant, I want the people who are being of service in that restaurant, I want them to know that I see them. That is like, my husband will even say that it's like, because I think for so many people, they are feeling unseen.
Yes.
And when they're feeling unseen, they're also feeling underappreciated. And so it has just always been my nature and my calling to be of service in some capacity. Now, of course, I'm doing this as how I show up in the world, and it's my mission and my purpose. And being an intuitive healer means that I just get to connect with others and support them as they become aware and remember who they are and heal. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I feel like the ripple effect of that is incredible. As you've been talking, I'm thinking of this one quote. I think it's Rumi, but it's, we're all just walking each other home. I don't know if you've heard that quote before. And I feel like what you're saying
Yes,
is,
I love Rumi so much. I mean, oh, I
me
just
too.
can't imagine someone being so prolific. One of I love that, walking each other home, because our inner self is our home. It's our inner temple. It's our inner space. And I also love this quote from Rumi where it says, "The wound is where the light enters."
Yes, that's one of my favorites
Because,
too.
right? Because if you think about it, sometimes we live in this world where everything is about light and love and many people aren't living that life. But
Right.
what we all have is, we all have a light and a dark. Because without recognizing the dark, we would not know about the light. We would not experience that. And I feel like we've all experienced or are experiencing our own wounding. And so we get to be of service, you and I, and others, by allowing our gifts to support somebody in healing, to allow that light to come into the wound and heal. Yeah.
Yes, that is so true. I know some of my most transformative pivotal points were from so much pain. But when I was healing from it or moving beyond it, or realized, wait, it wasn't that that person did this terrible thing, it's that eventually this was an opportunity for me to say, how am I showing up for myself in my life? How am I treating myself? What do I value? And yes, go ahead.
And that takes time. And sometimes, that takes time, because our wounding, the things that we feel, can be so deep in our unconscious mind. There can be things that we're holding on to that have been inside of us since we were little, right? So as we heal one layer, we evolve from that, but there's something underneath that may need to be exposed so that we can start to heal that. Because the more that we reveal things, the more that we can heal them. I truly believe that. And in our humanness, we're just going to go through things, but as we go through them, we start to grow through them. And as we start to grow, we then start to heal. And the more that we start to heal, the more that we can transform our lives. And I truly believe that. And that is what keeps me going, Rachel, because life isn't just what you see in the pictures and the videos on social media.
Right.
And I'm so appreciative, because I feel like social media is a way that we get to connect with people all over the world. And as we're going through things, that doesn't mean that I don't still get to show up. I get to show up in the midst of, right? Because sometimes people feel like, well, I've got to get it all together first before I can. And it's like, no, while you're still working through these things, you still keep going.
I love that. And that's beautiful. And I feel like what you say applies to us personally. And I believe also society as a world, as humanity, we're working through this big change right now of having things revealed and healing and addressing these wounds that have occurred, so that we can move forward and all not just have our own individual best lives, but like humanity and the planet have this best experience.
Right. Like affecting our community, where we live, in all aspects of our life. And it's really just about taking that next step, even in the midst of whatever it is that we're going through or dealing with, and knowing that we can come out on the other side and seeking support. So many times we want to do this all on our own. And it's like, support is a very powerful thing. It is how we can be of service, of course, but support, it's like, when I think about the times when I was too embarrassed or felt guilt or shame to let somebody in and to know what I was dealing with, oh my gosh, the emotional pain I was dealing with, and doing that alone was paralyzing. And the thing is, we all go through things. And I think that's something that we have to remember, so that when we do want to reach out to people, that we just do it. We do it in the midst of what will others think, And one thing I want to share is that, I feel like recently I've been hearing about so many deaths, and not to bring this to a place of sadness. Okay. But the one thing that I've really been thinking about, and it was on my heart this morning, and I did, and I actually spoke about this earlier, is that reach out to people. If you haven't spoken to somebody in a while, for whatever that reason is, you know what? Just reach out to them. Let somebody know you're thinking about them, because there's so many people who don't have anybody who's checking in on them, wondering how they're doing, caring enough to want to help them in some way. And I just think in this time that we live in today, it is so important for us to reach out, to share the things that matter to us, to be a help in somebody's life,
I'm so glad that that's like one of your final things that you're saying, because I agree 110% 25%. Because, and I know when I have reached out to people, because I'm trying to make a habit of, I'll go on my phone and look through my contacts and think, who have I not contacted in a while? And I'll reach out. Sometimes I would say like 1 in 10 times someone will say, oh, I was having a hard day, thank you, or this bad thing just happened and it was really nice that you were thinking of me. And it's not always that. Sometimes it's just, you know, thanks for thinking of me. But it really, especially, I know if I'm having a moment where I feel alone, I can reach out, you know, and doing that to other people and letting them know, like, you matter to me, I'm thinking of you, I'm taking this step outside of my normal day to say hello, or to say, I saw you say something online. And there's a high school friend I know who's being sober or becoming, or I don't know what the phrase is of it is anyway, and he's been posting about it. And so every day I'm saying a prayer for him, and then I go online and I encourage him, and other people are too. And I just feel like, how wonderful is this that he doesn't have to feel like he's doing this alone, that he knows that every day there are, like, I don't know, 10 people cheering him on.
And I mean, it's priceless if you think about that. Like, there's no amount of money that you can put on that. And so I'm even checking in on my own life, you know, and seeing, like, how can I reach out to people more? Because it's just easy to get into the day-to-day of your life, and then the end of the day is gone, and then it's another day, and I'm like, wait a second, you know, it doesn't take much to reach out to somebody. And so I think that's beautiful that you guys are doing this for your friend, because, you know, sometimes it's like, I can imagine for him, it's like, let me just get through today. Let me just get through today. Let me just think about today. I'm not going to focus on tomorrow. Let me just get through the day. And then to know you've got these people supporting you, it just helps you move through that day. And at the end of the day, you're like, I made it. I made it through this day. Thank you. You know? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, and can you tell us a little bit about, so you have a community that you support. Can you tell us where to find you, so if people want to connect into your community and, you know, get that loving support that we're talking about?
Absolutely. So you can find me at tracyneely.com, and that's TracyNeely.com.
And it'll be below.
Once you're there, I would love to connect with you. If you want to connect with me in an intuitive clarity call, you can see how I work with people. You can also find me on social media, on Facebook under Tracy Neely, or on Instagram under Tracy Neely. And I'm looking forward to connecting with you. And I'm really grateful to you, Rachel, because I think this is a beautiful community. I love what you're doing. I love how you're sharing. I love the fact that you are sharing your everyday experiences with people, and you're sharing nature, and you're sharing the things that really matter to you and how you are being of service. So thank you so much for this time.
Oh, thank you so much, Tracy. That was sweet. All right. Well, everyone who is joining in, I wish you a wonderful day, and thank you so much for connecting with us. All right. Bye.